Are you looking for an insightful walkthrough of the STAAR 2023 ELA test? In this video, I will break down the revising and editing questions so you know the correct answers, correlating TEKS, and rationale explaining why the answer is correct. You can also easily navigate through this video using the chapters. Hi there, I'm Angela from Custom Classroom. Just a quick reminder, I'm not affiliated with TEA or STAAR. As a test prep writer and educator, I'm here to offer my interpretation and insights. Before I break down the test, I want to share some news. I just released a 12-week set of editing and revising warm-ups, and the best part is you can try 1 week for free. These practice questions mimic exactly what your students will see on the STAAR test, ensuring they are fully prepared to ace the exam. Click the link in the description and give it a try today. All right, now let's look at the 7th grade reading release test from 2023, the editing section. So I skipped to question number 38 here because that's where the editing questions begin on this exam. So let's start with the passage. Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question. Logan is writing a story about a girl who makes a surprise discovery in her attic. Read these paragraphs from the body of Logan's paper and look for corrections he needs to make. Then answer the questions that follow. An attic discovery. Reaching for another taped up box, Presley tried not to think about the beautiful day outside. She had volunteered to help Grandma clean out her attic. At the time, she had hoped there would be something wonderful hidden in its dusty corners. Likewise, she had found only clothes, books, and dishes that had seen far better days. As Presley opened the box, she realized it was full of papers. She was about to stuff them into the trash when something caught her eye. It was an old magazine from 1961 called the Woods Hill Journal. Presley flipped to the table of contents and did a double take when she saw her grandpa's name. He had apparently published a story in this magazine more than 50 years ago. All right, let's look at question 38. What is the correct way to write sentence 2? So let's look back at sentence 2 here. She had volunteered to help Grandma clean out her attic. At the time, she had hoped there would be something wonderful hidden in its dusty corners. Let's look at A. When she had volunteered to help Grandma clean out her attic, she had hoped there would be something wonderful hidden in its dusty corners. Okay, well, the first period should actually be a comma for it to be correct. Here in this structure, it's creating kind of fragments, so that one is not correct. B, she had volunteered to help her grandma clean out her attic, and at the time had hoped that there would be something wonderful hidden in its dusty corners. All right, so here again, this sentence is improperly punctuated. The use of the period is creating two incomplete sentences. C. When she had volunteered to help Grandma clean out her attic, she had hoped there would be something wonderful hidden in its dusty corners. Well, this sentence is correcting the one before in the passage, which has kind of a run-on and some weird order going on. So this time it's kind of replacing that phrase at the time that's dangling by itself here. And this one flows well, so let's select that one. All right, let's look at D. D, she had volunteered to help Grandma clean out her attic, and at the time, she had hoped there would be something wonderful. It would be hidden in its dusty corners. Okay, well, this sentence is pretty awkward. It sounds run on. It's kind of starting to repeat things and is very disjointed. So we're going to cross that one out. So the answer here is C, and 38 is labeled as 10DI, which is looking at complete sentences and kind of avoiding run-ons and fragments. All right, 39. Select the response that corrects the error in sentence 3. So let's look back at sentence 3. We're going to see if there's an error in there. Likewise, she had found only clothes, books, and dishes that had seen far better days. So here we're going to see an inline choice where you're going to have to replace a part of the sentence to correct it. Instead, she had found only clothes, books, and dishes that had seen far better days. Okay, that sounds pretty good because it is kind of contrasting between what she hopes to find and what she actually finds. Also, she had found only clothes, books, and dishes. Also, it's kind of like indicating an in addition to, and that doesn't go with the previous sentences. Namely, she had found only clothes, books, and dishes. And here, Logan doesn't get more specific in sentence 3 about what she found, so namely doesn't really apply. Certainly, she had found only clothes, books, and dishes. Using this word certainly doesn't really make any sense to go with the previous sentence or this sentence. So here instead is the best answer choice. And 39 is labeled 10DIII, which is using a conjunctive adverb. 40, what change is needed in sentence 4? Let's look back at sentence 4. As Presley opened the box, she realized it was full of papers. So here we're going to see if there's an error in this sentence. A says change as to even though. So even though Presley opened the box, she realized it was full of papers. That kind of changes the meaning of the sentence and doesn't really make sense. So let's cross that one off. All right, B, change opened to opens. As Presley opens the box, she realizes it's full of paper. Logan's written the paper in past tense, so changing it to opens is changing the tense. So we want to keep it as opened. Let's cross that off. C, insert a comma after box. So it'd be as Presley opened the box, comma, she realized it was full of papers. Okay, yes, that's correct because there's a subordinate clause here where she's opening the box and it needs to be set apart with a comma before the independent clause follows. So that one's correct. All right, let's look at the last one. D, change she to they. As Presley opened the box, they realized it was full of paper. Well, the story is all about she, one person, so they is not the correct pronoun in this case. So let's cross that off. All right, so the correct answer here is C, and so 40 is labeled 10DVIII, and so that's standard based on punctuation. All right, final question here, 41. What change is needed in sentence 6? So let's look back at sentence 6. It was an old magazine from 1961 called the Woods Hill Journal. All right, let's look at A. A is saying to change was to is. So it is an old magazine. Okay, well, it was already written in the past, so we don't want to change to is. We want to keep was as the correct tense there. Change from to end. It was an old magazine in 1961. Well, she finds the magazine was published. So from is associated with the word time, and so we want to keep it to from. So let's cross that one out. C, change called to it was called. So she found an old magazine from 1961. It was called the Woods Hill Journal. So this wouldn't be completely incorrect, but it's really causing it to be more of a run-on sentence and adding in extra words. So let's cross that off. D, change Woods Hill Journal to capital Woods Hill Journal. Yes, that's correct because this is the actual name of the magazine, so it's a proper noun. It needs to be capitalized. So D is the correct answer here. So 41 is labeled as 10DVII, which is correcting capitalization. So that ends this section on editing. If you want to have some more examples of editing questions for 7th grade, if you go to the next section, there are 4 more questions you can look at. All right, let's begin with the 7th grade reading release test from 2023, the revising section. So I went ahead and skipped to question 28 here because that's where the revising questions begin. So let's start with the passage. Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question. Roy wrote this letter to a local ice cream shop. Read Roy's letter and look for revisions she needs to make. Then answer the questions that follow. Dear By the Scoop Ice Cream Management, it is 7 p.m. on a Friday night. I am eating an incredibly stale popsicle from the back of my freezer. The freezer burn and flat flavor makes me wonder how long this frozen treat has been hiding in there. I honestly don't know how long it's been there. It's quite possible that it is from our family celebration last July. It is disgusting, and I would much rather be eating a banana split in one of your famous tin cups. In fact, I wish I was sitting in a diner chair at your ice cream shop right now. Instead, I am at home thinking about how devastated I was to read the sign in your window tonight. My family loves to get ice cream together on the weekends. Since your grand opening in April, my mom, brother, and I have driven over to your shop around 6:45 p.m. almost every Friday evening. Tonight was no different. We finished dinner, cleaned up the kitchen, put on light jackets, and piled into the car. As we drove excitedly to your shop, we talked about what we planned to order. When we pulled into the parking lot, we were shocked to see a dark shop with a new sign in the window. Puzzled, the sign was read by Mom, who walked ahead squinting. She motioned for us to come close as she read it aloud. Everyone sighed as we got back in the car and spent the drive home talking about how disappointed we were. We simply couldn't believe that By the Scoop would be closing at 4 p.m. throughout the rest of the winter. I am sad to miss out on ice cream, but I also believe that you are missing out on an important opportunity for business. If we lived in a cold, snowy place, I could understand why you would make the decision to change your hours. People might not be able to get out of their driveway safely on icy evenings. However, we all know that winter storms are extremely rare around here. Our area hardly ever sees a temperature below freezing. On most winter days, it feels like fall, and people are out and about as normal. Therefore, I am convinced that you would have customers coming in to purchase your delicious ice cream all winter long. My family craves cold treats in every season of the year. I think that most people around here feel exactly like we do. Everyone enjoys a tin cup of one of your delicious flavors. It doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. The popsicle I am eating right now isn't even worth finishing. It tastes terrible, and I'm hoping you will make a change in your plans soon. Sincerely, Rory Young. All right, now let's look at question 28. Rory has included a sentence in the first paragraph, sentences 1 through 7, that repeats information. Which sentence should be removed from this paragraph? All right, so let's look back here. And we're going to reread this paragraph to look for something that is repeating. It is 7 p.m. on a Friday night, and I am eating an incredibly stale popsicle from the back of my freezer. The freezer burn and flat flavor make me wonder how long this frozen treat has been hiding in there. I honestly don't know how long it's been in there. Okay, so right off the bat, I can hear that this sentence is repeating the previous sentence. So sentence 2 is stating that I don't know how long it's been in there. And again, it's saying, honestly, I don't know how long it's been in there. Okay, let's keep going to see if anything else stands out. 4, it's quite possible that it was from our family celebration last July. Well, it's adding a little bit more information. It goes on to saying it's disgusting. Okay, so that's all new. So here we can tell that sentence 3 is what's repeating the information. This question is labeled as 10BII, which is developing an engaging idea, and a lot of times it comes down to the details, and so specifically here, this is removing repeated details. All right, let's look at 29. What is the most effective way to revise sentence 14? All right, so let's go down here and look back at 14. Puzzled, the sign was read by Mom, who walked ahead squinting. Okay, So this is one of those where they've taken a correct sentence and kind of rearranged the words so that it doesn't quite flow correctly. So let's look through the possible answer choices to see which one sounds the best. So A says, Mom walked ahead and squinted to read the sign and was puzzled to read it. All right, well, that still sounds a little bit awkward because it's kind of redundant and you're talking about squinting to read the side, puzzled to read it. So it's repeating information within there. So let's cut that one out. B, puzzled, Mom walked ahead and squinted to read the sign. Okay, that sounds a lot better. This one is helping rearrange where it flows better, where she's walking ahead, then she's squinting to read the sign versus reading the sign, walking ahead, and then squinting. So the flow is better there. All right, let's look at C. Mom was puzzled and squinting, and she read the sign, walking ahead. All right, again, this is disjointing all the events. They're not in logical order. So let's cut that one out. D, puzzled and reading the sign, Mom squinted, who walked ahead. Again, this is awkward in its order and placement of what's going on, that she's walking ahead right at the end. So let's cut that one out. All right, so our answer here is B, and this question is labeled as 10C, which is revising for clarity. And in this case, we're having to kind of order the structure so that it flows correctly. All right, let's look at 30. What is the most effective transition word or phrase to add at the beginning of sentence 22? All right, sentence 22, let's look back there. Our area hardly ever sees a temperature below freezing. So here we need to also look at the sentence before to see what ideas are happening before that we need to transition into this idea of cold temperatures. So people may not be able to get out of their cars. Okay, however, we all know that winter storms are extremely rare around here. In conclusion, our area hardly ever sees. Okay, well, we're not concluding a passage here, so that isn't a great section to put that in. So let's cut that one out. Meanwhile, our area hardly ever sees a temperature below freezing. That kind of implies that there's two ideas happening at the same time, but really we're talking about winter storms being rare, so that also doesn't fit. Let's look at C, in fact. In fact, our area hardly ever sees a temperature below freezing. Okay, now this is an effective transition because it's expanding upon this information in the previous sentence. All right, let's look at D. Frequently, our area hardly ever sees. Okay, well, that's the opposite of hardly ever to say it's happening frequently, so that's also incorrect. So the best answer here is C, and 30 is labeled as 10BI, which is organization with a purpose of structure, and in this case, it's focusing in on transitions. 31. In the box provided, combine the ideas in sentences 27 and 28 in a clear and effective way. So let's look back at 27 and 28. Everyone enjoys a tin cup of one of your delicious flavors. It doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. So what I like to do on these combining sentences is just have students begin by typing both sentences in. All right, so now that I have both sentences in there, we can begin to try to combine them. So everyone enjoys a tin cup of your delicious flavor. It doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. So here there's really no repeating of information. It's just kind of two completely different thoughts. So if we're going to want to combine those, we're going to need to connect them together with a conjunction. So here, everyone enjoys a tin cup of your delicious flavor, and it doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. So TEA has not released the exact scoring guide on possible answers for this question, but based on what I've seen previous practice tests, I would see this as an acceptable answer. And in this specific case, this question is labeled 10C again. And so that's looking on revising for clarity. And a lot of times it also involves the combining of sentences. All right, let's look at 32. Which sentence should replace sentence 30 to bring this letter to a more effective closing. So let's look at this final sentence here. All right, it says, it tastes terrible, and I'm hoping you will make a change in your plans soon. So let's look back at each option here and kind of see what's bringing the whole idea together. A, this has been a difficult letter for me to write, but I think that it's important for you and your employees to know about my family. So this sentence is kind of bringing to a close, but it's focused mostly on Roy's family rather than the request she wants for them to expand their hours, which is kind of the big idea. So that's not really effective enough. B, I hope you will reconsider your store hours so that everyone in our area can continue to enjoy your delicious ice cream this winter. Okay, that sounds great. This sentence is more focused on her main purpose, which is extending the store hours, and it has a little bit more of a positive message to it. So let's select that one. Your ice cream is so delicious, and due to this fact, I don't want to ever eat something stale from my freezer again. So this sentence is focused too much on the popsicle tasting bad rather than extending the store hours. So this isn't really wrapping up her kind of main idea. I am absolutely certain that everyone in our local community agrees with everything I have written to you in this letter today. So this sentence supports the idea of, wanting the ice cream shop to extend their hours, but she shouldn't really say that I'm absolutely certain that everyone agrees with her, because that's a little bit too specific and that might not be true. It doesn't quite bring her point to a close. So really here, B is the best answer. And 32 here is labeled as 10BI, which is organization with purposeful structure. And in here, it's focused mostly on conclusion. So this is the end of this section of revising questions. If you want to go on and have more sample 7th grade questions, you can just click next. And there are 5 more revising questions that you can look at. Make sure you don't miss out. Click the link in the description now to get a whole week of my amazing editing and revising warm-ups for free. Don't wait. Grab this incredible opportunity while you can.